I gained 10k followers on Twitter in the last 30 days, which helped me get to over 30k followers. And in this video, I'm going to show you the exact free strategies that I used, so that you can also gain 10k followers on Twitter. So we first need to talk about the tweets that you should be writing. I'm going to show you the 10 best tweets that you can write, but before that, I'm going to show you how many tweets I posted and how many tweets you should post. So this is what my Twitter content schedule looked like. I used the tool HypeFury, which you can check out in the description, but I basically posted 8 times per day for the last 30 days, so that's 240 tweets. It works really well for me, but for most people this is definitely overkill. So here's what I would recommend that you do instead. Post 3 times per day on these times, and if you have a little bit more time, add a 4th or a 5th one, but 8 is probably overkill. There are more important factors like what you post and a few other growth strategies that I'm going to cover later in this video. But let's talk about the best tweets that you can post. I'm going to show you the 10 best tweets that I've posted this month, and I'm going to show you why it worked, so that you can also use it for yourself. The first one is the transformation post. The first thing that stands out here is that I used numbers here, and this instantly grabs attention and it implies a transformation. Then I have a repetition here, he's failing, he's failing, he's failing, he's failing. And then I have a pattern interrupt here. So in this way, I show the transformation. Then we have the hook list takeaway, a really original name, but it's exactly what it is. You start with a short hook, then you have a list of 3 or 5 bullet points, and then you have a short takeaway or lesson at the end. The next post is an interesting fact. So I start with grabbing attention, then I give the fact, and then I give some extra perspective or an extra lesson based on that fact. Next up is the metaphor. Everyone knows this sentence, but here I kind of expand on it a little bit, and then I relate it to the reader and what they can learn from it. Next up is the contrast, and this is one that I use a lot. You can either contrast 2 types of people or 2 ideas. Then we have the same text here, and then we have how they differ. That brings us to the motivational post. The first thing that stands out here is the repetition, which decreases the effort it takes to read it. Then we have the rule of 3, so 3 different but related things. And then we have a short motivational lesson based on this information. That brings us to the triad post. This is where you compare 3 different things. So in this case, working, thinking, and behaving. And all of the other text is the same, which makes it easier for people to read it. Next up is the comparison post. This is where you compare 2 different things with each other and show how they're related and how they're different. So in this case, I emphasize that school makes you a great memorizer and that writing makes you a great thinker. This kind of challenges the idea that you need to go to school to become a great thinker by emphasizing that you mainly learn to memorize there. Then we have the 80-20 rule. This is where you take a concept so in my case the game, and then you say 20% of it is this and 80% of it is this, and this shows the most important aspect of this topic. So that brings us to the call-out. This is where you start with a common excuse or something that people say a lot, then you disagree with it, and then you reframe it to something that you actually think it is. So in my case, I think discipline is a choice, and in this way I show that. I touched on a few writing strategies like the rule of 3 and repetition, but there are a lot more writing strategies that you need to know to optimize your tweets. And I won't cover them all in this video, so check out the free ebook in the description if you want to learn more about it. So that brings us to the second strategy, and this is writing threads. Threads are simply multiple tweets put together, and you usually use them to explain a process or to do a deep dive into a topic. So I'm now going to show you the 4 best threads that I've written this month, and we'll start with this one. This got over 10 million views, and if you want to know my exact process, you can check out the X growth system in the description. But there are 4 core parts that made this work. And the first one was the hook. It's an extreme, the biggest, and it sounds intriguing because it's a little bit controversial. So that's why it instantly grabbed attention. Then I say ADHD, so it's an interesting topic that a lot of people want to learn more about. Then I give an interesting frame or perspective on it that not a lot of people use, and this creates curiosity as well. And then I quickly explain the benefits that people will get if they read this thread. And as you can see, a lot of people decided to do so. The next one is similar, but slightly different. I start with an extreme hook again. Then it's about an interesting topic, because everyone wants to know how they make better decisions. Then I create some curiosity by saying that I studied Naval and Elon Musk, because these are 2 people that are really popular in my niche. And again, then I explain the benefits that they get if they read this thread. The next one is slightly different, but it still started with a hook. People who are interested in Huberman will read this, and people who don't know him might also be intrigued. Then I basically say I spend a lot of time on it, and you can save a lot of time by reading this thread. So this makes the perceived value high. And then I explain the practical benefits that they get if they read this thread. And the last one, again, we start with a hook that's extreme because extremes do well on social media. Then I mention a topic that's proven to do well online and that a lot of people are interested in. Then I mention some relevant problems to explain the importance of this topic. And then again, I end with the benefits that they get if they read the threads. Because people don't care about your threads, but they care about what they get if they read your thread. So you need to make it really clear what the benefit is, so that they can determine whether it's worth it for them to read your threads. So that brings us to the third strategy. And this is about increasing your engagement. This is the follower funnel. So people are strangers when they first see your content. Then they see either your tweets or your comments. Then they click on your profile, and if your profile is optimized, they become a follower. So you need 3 different things for this, but at the start, you won't have organic reach yet. So your tweets aren't reaching people, which means that you have to force eyes on your content. And you do this with quality comments. If you leave a lot of quality comments, you get a lot of profile clicks, and if your profile is set up right, you convert a high percentage of that into followers. I've left over 30k comments and I analyzed all of them with a tool. And I'm now going to show you the 8 best performing ones for me, so that you can copy them and save a ton of time while still getting the same results. The first one is a personal insight. So this is where you give a personal insight related to the topic of the tweet. The second one is a platitude. This is sort of a short lesson that you give related to the tweet. The third one is a personal take. So this is where you give your own opinion on the tweet. The fourth one is sharing an idea related to the tweet. The fifth one is sharing a personal experience related to the idea in the tweet. The sixth one is sharing a relevant story. Doesn't need to be about you, but it can be. The seventh one is making a short joke. And the eighth one is saying something thought-provoking, again related to the topic that I talk about. That's the most important thing. It needs to be relevant to the tweets and it needs to add something to it. If you do these 3 things, you'll also be able to gain 10k followers on Twitter. However, 10k followers doesn't equal 10k per month. In order to monetize your audience, there are 3 more things that you need to do. So check out this video next. It explains the exact strategies that I've used to get to 10k per month on Twitter, so that you can do the same, but in less time.